It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Friday, July 19th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Until the End with Daniel Baker, the Wednesday Message Word Study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? And yes, the weekend is here. It's already Friday. I am super happy and super excited. Don't forget, we have Q&A Thursday every single week, so get those questions ready. Send them to me whenever you can. And if you haven't yet, leave a like and comment to build our community. I am just super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive, so let's get up and support each other each and every day. All right, this week's Sunday message title is According to the Lord God's Will. And of course, I will go into the Wednesday message a little bit later in segment number 2. All right. So yes, everyone, it is the weekend. I am super grateful, super thankful that we have reached the weekend. It's already the 19th, if you can believe that. And as scary as this sounds, by the time we get back to our Monday podcast, it's going to be the 22nd. Which means we're going to have like a little bit less than 2 weeks. It'll be like a week and a half before August begins, which is it basically means we're already powering through. We're already 2/3 done July, and we're just going to be 9 days away from finishing July, which is crazy. And for me, for those of you guys who don't know, August 15th is the day that I do take a trip over to the United States of America. Of course, going at the perfect time where the presidential candidate was almost assassinated, right? Which was like how many days ago? Like just in Asia, it was Sunday, but it was Saturday night over there in America. But yeah, I'm going to be heading into, the war zone. So that should be pretty intense and pretty crazy too. But looking forward to, very much looking forward to going there and helping out with evangelism the best that I can. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. My trip is also set now. I should be there for a few weeks. And I will keep you guys updated. Why? Because when I'm over there, I'm still doing this podcast. So it's going to be fun. You guys are going to be able to listen to what's happening. And at that time, since I'm going to evangelize a lot of people, going out to meet people, I think one of the big things we are going to do is I'm going to try my best to record talking to people and stuff like that too. All right. So, this is the weekend. What are your plans for the weekend? Anything fun or exciting? Anything new? Anything hopeful? Anything that you're really looking forward to? I'd love to hear that in the comments below. For me, I'm still really, really stoked about my trip to America. It's really going to happen. I'm excited to run. And I don't even mind being on campus, even though I'm 45. Just being there seems exciting. And I think it's more exciting for me. As weird as this sounds, it's exciting because it's a short-term thing. Now, what do I mean by that? It doesn't mean that I want to be there for a short time, but I really believe in having short timelines. I think it's a really good thing. For instance, when you hit the campus for 2 weeks or for 3 weeks, and then that's your goal that you're hitting hard, 3-4 hours a day, knowing that there's an end is something that is very comforting, and it kind of pushes you to reach that goal. I think it's perfect for human psychology. It allows us to plan and run for that time frame. And because one thing I do notice is if we just say run and then there's no ending, and it could be anything. When there's no deadline, when there's no ending, we get exhausted because our minds and hearts have no idea how long we need to run for. We're just basically running aimlessly when you don't have those end points and those goals. It's kind of like when I talk about meetings in the past. The worst meetings are the ones that have no ending, and you don't even see the ending in sight. You have no idea. It's just you're told you're meeting at 7:30 and you have no idea when it ends. You get exhausted, you get tired, you don't want to be there. It's really, really difficult. So for me, running for, like, let's just say I'm going to be going to 3 different regions. I am going to 3 different regions and probably hitting 3 to 4 campuses. And it's really exciting because it's like a week in this campus, another week in this campus, another 2 weeks in this campus. And I'll probably, it's short term for all of them. And for me, it's exciting because it's like, okay, I got a week, let's push it. We got 1 week, let's just make the best that we can for that entire week, right? And also, one thing I do want to do, and something I really need to pray about, is leaving room for God's inspiration to work also. Now, what I mean here is I don't know what God is going to do through me in America or what's going to happen. But I'm super excited, but I need to leave room for God that there could be some type of inspiration that happens or something that God inspires me to, maybe, I'm just saying this as a possibility, like, stay longer or something along that line. It's possible. I got to leave room for it where God's saying, God can kind of lead me in a different direction. But it's very, very interesting and something that I very, very much look forward to also. And like I said, in my prayers, I've got to leave room for God, right? Like what God wants to do through me, or what God wants to inspire me while I'm there. Sorry, I just had to get a drink of water because my throat's a little bit parched. And my friends from Korea, they all left today. So it was 4 days, and it was almost like a full 3.5 days because they arrived at lunchtime on Monday, and then they left like a 10 p.m. flight today or yesterday, which is Thursday, right? So very, very happy. I'm so happy that my friend, who's I've known for over 20 years, able to bring their family. She's been a head leader and she's been running full time all her life. So there's a lot of things she just doesn't know. So I was very, very thankful that I could help them out and take them around and show them to different places and that too. But it is something that I have been thinking about a lot also. I was telling you, I just told you I'm going to America. I'm going to go to help with evangelism, right? And before going into this, there was a lot of like discussions of, what do you want to do for evangelism kind of thing. And I think just in my head, because we all know that evangelism is super important, right? We know it's important. We know it's something that God wants. God has saved, it's in the message. God has saved you, so you need to go out and save others. Like it's something that is very desperate and urgent. But I think one of the things it does, like when we have that mindset of being urgent and desperate, it makes us very impatient. Like we want instant results right now. Someone's got to start studying within the next 2 weeks, right? And I think sometimes we can't help it since we're always asked by the leaders above, how many did you evangelize? What's going on here? Hey, we need to evangelize more on campus. We need to evangelize more on schools, whatever it is. How many people did you pass? How many are studying right now? Whatever it is, right? And of course, when you're constantly asked these questions, it doesn't help. But in general, I would say I think we're way too quick when it comes to evangelism or impatient. And we look only for the quickest lives that will finish as soon as possible. And I think this is, as weird as this sounds, I think it's the wrong strategy for that to be the main source of evangelism. I'm not saying that going on campus and meeting people one-on-one is a bad thing. I actually think it's something that we should be doing, but I don't think it should be the main source of evangelism. Right? It's like when Sunstream talks about it in the past too, he does talk about going out to evangelize, and it does sound super urgent, and it does sound we have to evangelize right now, right? But he also talks about gathering many people and then choosing from there. And then he also talks about recently he's like, make sure that you look at them, watch them for a year, watch them for 3 years. Like, we see that he also wants us to be very discerning about it too. And I think when you look at the overall context of how Sunstream talks, he's not thinking the same way we're thinking. Because even when you look at the way Sunstream made history in the first half, Sunstream was the one leading the charge, and it was growing like crazy. But in the beginning, it wasn't growing. So if you really think about it, remember, it took almost 3 years for Sunstream to evangelize the very first person, which is pretty crazy that he had to, it wasn't something quick. It wasn't something that was happening right away. And from there, it slowly begins to grow step by step. And then it reaches like this critical mass where it begins to explode because there's enough people for it to be growing where there's like 10, 20, 30 people passing per day kind of thing, right? And we can see that when it reaches that critical mass, it really, really grows quickly. But we kind of don't recognize that it has to reach that critical mass first before it has exponential growth. And I think one of the things that it might be counterintuitive to the way that we think right now, I do think that this strategy is the best strategy to gather people first, right? Not by individual evangelism, not by going on campus and meeting lives and teaching one-on-one. I don't think that should be the main source. I think that is way more suitable for a pioneering church, but not for a regular church. Like one of the things we discussed is having a platform to gather as many lives as possible. Not to evangelize them, but just to gather. That's the whole purpose of it, is to gather. No one's sitting there looking at, we need to evangelize this person. We need to evangelize this person. But it's all about bringing lots of people together first, right? We can share parts of the word, share testimonies, talk about our love for God, finding great people. It's kind of like what Sunstein said in the past. We need to check and observe people for a while before we actually evangelize them. And I think that's something that is so important for all of us to understand, is we need that patience. And some people are going to say, but what if it takes too long? And I would just say that, in our heads, we might think to ourselves it's taking too long. But I would compare it to the things I talked about this week between the world, how the world gets married, and how Providence does the blessing. And we're so used to the way the world does it that if the way the Providence does it is so backwards to our minds that we're like, but what about this? What about that? But just look at the results of the way the world gets married. The results are terrible. If the divorce rate is in the range of 60 to 70%, and remember, I'm including the 56% divorce rate plus the 10 to 20% of people that don't divorce just because of money, which means they should divorce and they stayed married miserable. Do you know what I mean? So think about this. How many of you would want to try something that has a 60 to 75% fail rate? Is it worth it? Where the result could lead to mental, financial disaster, splitting of children, parents fighting, feeling the waste of time being together. Like, it's weird when you think about it like that, but it's such a huge fail rate. But the interesting thing is, even though we know it's got a huge fail rate, in our hearts and our minds, because that's just the way the world does it, we are always like, but don't we need to date? But don't we need to do this? Even though it's got a terrible failure rate. So with that in mind, look at the success rate of Providence evangelism right now when we're impatient. Look what I would say, everyone take a look at what we've done over the past 10 years, from 2014 to 2024. How great has it really been? And I want you guys to be honest. Be honest about your country in the last 10 years, which is a large group, like a large sample we're looking at. How great has it really been? Right? Sunsi keeps telling us how important evangelism is, how much we need to save others because God has saved us. God has given us His grace. And then we feel that pressure because we love God and we're so thankful to God for what He's done for us. But yet we still feel like, it's like, honestly, how many of us feel hopeless about evangelism right now? Like, man, evangelism is tough. It's hard. And then to top things off, when we have new, like, evangelism strategies, is just like, work harder. Let's just do the exact same thing we've always been doing. So what we're going to do now? What we're going to do now, guys? You know what? Let's just go on campus. And we'll do a survey, and we're going to meet people, and we're going to just evangelize. Let's work hard, guys. Doing the exact same thing that has always been done. And does that make sense? And the answer is it doesn't. There's honestly, there is no magic bullet. I don't have the exact answer. I just know that what we are doing now should not be the main source of evangelism. I'm going to repeat that, the main source. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm saying it shouldn't be the main source of evangelism. You know, it's kind of like a saying that you hear in business that says there is no right way to do something, but there are many wrong ways to do it, right? Meaning, we try tons of things and we find out the things that don't work. So we know all the different ways that are wrong, which means we've tried so many things and we see that it doesn't work. And we should be saying that, okay, that's not the way that we should be evangelizing. However, there are many ways that are right, depending on the region, depending on the time, depending on the season. There's so many different methods and styles we need to try. And as technology changes, as culture changes, there's going to be more styles that we have to do too. And my question to you, which would probably be, how many methods have we really tried? And even when we do try, how long do we try it before we revert back to the method that doesn't work? How many times have we tried something new and thought in our hearts, this isn't going to work. Oh, let's just go back to the old way because at least we'll be guaranteed 2 to 5 people to be evangelized. So it's something that we do have to think about when it comes to evangelism. We have to think way outside the box, right? And we have to think more in line with what society is like today with the technology and social media and stuff like this too. Right? If we build a platform to gather people, right? And even if it takes, let's just say a few years to gather that many people, let's just say 2 to 3 years. Then as we gather, we build connections, we grow a huge pool of people. And eventually we're going to have a stream of people coming in consistently. And it's kind of like business. You build a platform for many people to see your product or service, like an Amazon or something along that line. And as the streams of people are looking at your products, usually you're going to have a hit rate of 1 to 4% that will actually buy it, maybe even more in some cases, which basically means that if you have a platform, all you basically need is more eyes looking at it. The more eyes that look at it, the more people that are going to come in. It's super simple. And it's how marketers are doing it right now. Like, if you think about it, as Providence right now, we don't even get into that type of thing. Like, when people talk about using social media, what I see is it's not really even being utilized. It's more being used for, hey, we got an event. All right, so let's post it on all our social media channels that there's an event at our church. That is not doing things in a new way. It just isn't, right? It isn't. Most of the people who post on their social media, most members, the people following them are members. And the way that we do it is very, very slow, super slow. So what's my point? My point is, I don't know what the right way to do it is. I don't. But we all know what the wrong way is, or the way that's not working. And we need to try new things and actually invest time into it and even money into it too, right? And I'm going to say do this as the main while doing the one-on-one evangelism on campus and stuff like that too, right? Our method now, the method we use right now in Providence, for the larger churches, I think shouldn't be the main source of evangelism. So, you know, when you even look at churches that do evangelize like 100, 200 people in a year, like I remember at the Lord's Church when we were doing it, it was very few that were actually being done by direct evangelism. Actually, one time there was 100 people that passed in the church, and only 2 or 3 of them were like direct. The rest of them were through modeling, through dance, through some type of event or some type of thing that they were running, and they were picking from pools of people. And if you look at the former faith too, what is the greatest marketing platform that the former faith has? Well, they all have an open public service because they've reached that level. People can just walk in, be inspired, and they come to church from that point on. They don't do a Bible study. They don't do it, like very few of them are going to a Bible study doing anything else. People are just invited to the event of the Sunday service because it's reached that level. And that's their marketing right now as they post on YouTube, social media, other platforms. And you can see that that's how they grow. When I was at Hillsong Church to visit them in New York, because they're like 3 blocks from our Providence church. There's like 4 services a day on Sunday, and I've been to 2 different times, like a 5 p.m. and a 7 p.m., whatever it was. And at the end of the service, they have an altar call, and there's always like 100 people that put their hands up. There's always. Every service, there's people coming, new people and stuff like that too. So when I think about what we're doing right now, I say we're kind of old-fashioned in our main source. Remember, I'm not saying that evangelism one-on-one is bad. I'm saying it's something we should still do, but it should not be the main source, right? We're still in a very kind of old-fashioned style of just using single people going out there on campus and just meeting people to eventually do a one-on-one Bible study. And if that's the main source of evangelism, then I think the church will remain the same size. In fact, it'll probably shrink as you grow more and more, right? So, I talked about this a little bit yesterday. Change is inevitable, and it'll happen no matter what. And the biggest role that leadership has is one of the biggest roles is dealing with change, helping us to navigate towards or bringing us into a direction. And one of the hardest parts is the churches need to change, right? We have to deal with the change, direct people, and help us go through that change. And remember, leaders make changes in 3 different ways, or 3 different ways change happens. The first is deliberate. You make the change, even when things are going well, right? And the hardest part is going to be is that a lot of people are thinking we don't need to change. And people start coming against it because they're like, what? Everything's going fine. Why do we need to change it now? That would be the hardest part about deliberate change, because you're seeing change before it actually happens, right? Like I talked about the other day is when renting videos was no longer cassettes, but it changed to streaming. You need to be visionary to see that. The second way change happens is accidental. The situation just happens in a way that fits perfectly, and change just happens easily because the situation and circumstance, it just works out. The timing is perfect. And we've seen how God works like that in our lives too, where some things just coincidentally like, whoa, how did that happen? And it actually works, and it allows change to happen. And it almost feels like it's by accident, but it's to the point you're like, no, this is what God did, right? But last but not least, which is the hardest one, change happens by force. The situation is so bad that you have no choice but to make change, or you die. Not literally, obviously, but your organization will crumble. And force will happen in Providence. Change is going to happen in Providence inevitably, no matter what. It's got to. But the hardest way to change is by force. Like what's going to happen? What needs to happen for us to change by force? Well, let's just say evangelism is so terrible, church isn't growing, people are feeling not so spiritual and they're feeling down a bit, which would be even more crazier that if we don't have enough guys for blessing, and on top of it, our leader is being persecuted, think about, that's our situation right now. That is. We're being forced into change right now. And that's where we are. We change or we die. Right? We change or we die. And I think it's more serious than we think. And I think this is why there should be such a huge emphasis on leadership. Leadership at this time, in the time of force of change, when we're being forced to change, if change doesn't happen, we fall behind and eventually die, figuratively as a church or an organization. Change must occur for the organization to move forward, to grow, and to flourish. And that's why, the discussions I've had so far is we got to try something new, even if it takes time. And we want no one to have any delusions of grandeur that if someone comes over there for 3 weeks or whatever, that everything's going to change. And the answer is it's not. We just need to try something new while doing the other things also, right? So, I'm in discussions to try something new, and we're going to see how much it works. But it's good if people are all on board for it, right? Once people it's like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. You guys on board? It's like, yeah. And once everyone comes together and everyone agrees that this is something that they all want to do, then this is something that I do think will be like, oh, this makes a lot of sense, right? So I think it's something that this is something that I hope that will work out really well, and I hope it's something that all of us can really kind of think about in our churches too. Like I said, there's no one right way to do it. All we know is that there are ways we shouldn't do it. We've tried a bunch of ways, and there's some ways we should not do it, right? So that is something that I do think that we have to think about a lot also. And, when we start going into the different methods that we're going to try over there, we're going to try it out, see what happens, and see if this is something that is going to work out or not. Okay? Either way. So there it is, guys. There's a lot of things that I've been thinking about, but of course because now it's pretty much official that I will be heading to America for a short trip. I am looking forward to it, and it's something that I really hope can work out really well too. All right? So either way, I hope you guys are gaining a lot from this, and maybe it makes you guys to think a little differently about evangelism. And I'm not telling you guys to stop going on campus and evangelizing 101. Like I said, it's about the main source of evangelism should be different. Unless you're in a very pioneering stage church, which I think is going to grow the best when it comes to, doing it one-on-one, meeting people and stuff like that too. But if you're bigger than that and more of a regular sized church, I think that is something that we do have to think about anyways. All right. So there it is, guys. That is segment number 1 for today. I hope it's something that you guys makes you guys think more deeply. And if you guys have any ideas and such, just let me know. All right. So there's, guys, that is today's first segment. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Before we get into the Wednesday message word study, let's get into the first music break of the day.
2023. We've all come a long way. Many different stories, but we're all on the same journey. Many, many ups and downs, but we're all still around. Many, many, many lessons, but each one came with a blessing. Let's not forget for where we come from when we make this confession. Some people just want to watch the world burn. As for you and I, let's set ourselves on fire, shine a light so bright that will make the people say, burning life, burning life. Look at the flames in my eyes, watch it burn, but don't stare too long, you might lose your sight. Some people gunning for our downfall, but they'll never see our demise. Burning life, burning life. Who's the one? I'm the one, he's the one. Are you the one? No, we're the ones who keep the fire going till the day we die, till they see the light, make it bright, till we hear the people say, born sinner, never could be ill. I know I'm back from the dead, yeah, the Lord is my healer. I took the red pill, that's why I call him teacher. When you learn about the spirit, oh, there ain't nothing realer. The one you learn from determines your entire destiny. Learn from the one who taught about eternity. Cloud craving, paper chasing, the joy is only temporary. I don't wanna do the same thing, so I had to count the vanity. I keep my eyes on the prize. I'll never sell my soul to the devil in disguise. With both hands on each side, I'm holding on to dear life. I keep my guard up, never back down. When it goes down, I call on the Christ. Spiritual battle, answer the call. It's Call of Duty, modern warfare, put the armor of God. They're fighting Lucy with a rock. I got atomic bombs, love the Lord your God and all your brothers once the demons fall. Don't be deceived, know who the ops is. Keep the unity and peace, go far way across us. Came to preach the word of God like I'm born in Tarsus. Here to testify the things I've seen on road to Damascus. He's a real deal, the real thing, be glad you heard the King's speech. Blessed are those who reach the end and get to hear the Lord speak. GODs, POC, we fulfilled everything. Burning life, kerosene, burning life, legacy.
You will never see me stop in the future. The life that fulfills God's will continue. Everyone thinks I'm unfortunate because I go through suffering. But inside of me it's different. Because I walk the path of eternal life.
Burning life, burning life. Look at the flames in my eyes, watch it burn, but don't stare too long, you might lose your sight. Some people gunning for a downfall, but they'll never see our demise. Burning life, burning life. Who's the one? I'm the one, he's the one. Are you the one? No, we're the ones. We're the ones who keep the fire going till the day we die, till they see the light, make it bright, till we hear the people say,
like Mary poured out her perfume on Jesus' feet, I must pour out my heart, mind, and love on the one who saved me.
All right, so let's get into today's Wednesday message word study and a brand new title. A very short message once again. It was Know the Time Period. And the scripture is from Luke chapter 10, verse 23 to 24. And it says, Then he turned to his disciples and said privately, Blessed are the eyes that see what you see. For I tell you that many prophets and kings wanted to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it. Very inspiring and powerful verse too, and I hope it's something that you guys are, that makes you guys think a lot more deeply too. All right, so this week's script, the Wednesday message title is Know the Time Period. So one of the things I like, what the message addresses at the very beginning, it talks to both leaders and listeners. And what Sansim tells the leaders is, anyone who's a leader or a person of mission, be strong so that your followers will not be disheartened. People who believe in you, rely on you, and follow will be shaken when trials or difficulties come, right? So this is something where Sunseem's kind of imploring the leaders, be strong, especially when the difficult times come, take action. And then people who are supporting you, who believe in you, who rely on you, because leaders are those, like the physical, they're like the physical body of God, how God works in people's lives. And a lot of times they're relying on us to help them through these dark times. And if we don't want them to be shaken when the difficult times comes, we have to be those that are strong, right? And one of the things that Sunseem also says is, like, no matter how difficult it gets, take action, right? So, and of course, at the very end, it's like if you take action, you'll be rewarded according to your deeds. So I really like that type of verse too. And then it goes to the followers, and then Sunseem's like, I also say this to the followers: don't rely on the leaders too much, because when the leaders left, you left. Like, these people left too. And why did they do that? Is because they didn't have the fundamental life of faith, which is what? Well, who is the true leader? Who is the one, like, for instance, the actual word Sunseem uses, and we know who Sunseem is talking about when he says, don't follow the witness after hearing the words of a witness. Rather, you have to believe in the one the witness testified about, right? You got to believe in the one that God has sent. And I think that's one of the big issues that happened in 2023, is there were people that were way too focused on the witness, and they weren't following the witness to follow the one she testified about, but we were actually only following the witness. And how do you know that someone was that type of person? Well, you can tell by how much more they struggled when the witness left, right? And if you completely left, it means your focus was on the wrong person. Because think about this. Where does the witness get their authority and power? They get their authority and power from the one who sent them. Completely different, right? So I would say it's something that we do have to think about, and something we have to keep in mind in our hearts and our minds, understanding, like, okay, so what is the word telling us right now? It's telling us that we have to be those that understand that just like when the man of mission is sent, who does the man of mission testify for? And the way Sunseem puts it is, the people testify for the man of mission, and the man of mission testifies about God. That's the way it's supposed to work, right? That's the way it's supposed to work. That's the real fundamental life of faith that we have to keep in mind. And if we don't have that, then when the next big tribulation comes, what are we going to do? It's all going to depend on how the leader that we're truly following, And who should it be? It should be the one that God sent, right? What's another point that I really liked? Oh, there's something where Sunsy was talking about making yourself, and Sunsy talks about that a lot. And one thing Sunsy said is we improve as much as we improve ourselves, or as much as someone tries to improve us. So it's about planning. It's about putting in the effort towards that plan and making ourselves or making others. And this is when people become better. This is when people become more beautiful. And the better and the more beautiful someone is, the easier it is for us to use them, right? Because think about it. The more skilled someone is, the easier they are to use. You don't have to teach them anything. They're highly skilled in something. And we have to make things better, become more comfortable, and be a joy to use by making an effort and working hard. And this is something that we have to make ourselves better. Or I like the point where something like we have to make and improve not just ourselves, but make and improve others too. And that's something that is possible. Right? Don't think that we can't improve others. We do improve others by teaching them. We do improve others by helping them. We do improve others by, helping them learn or reach a new level. And that's something I do think that we have to think about too. Another point like this is that the message said was, even if a person is sent by God, but you only try to use that person sent by God in the way that is comfortable for you, this is why things become difficult, right? And kind of like, it's kind of something interesting because it's something kind of sharing his heart, but he's sharing it by talking about Jesus, who's in a similar mission, right? Where Sunsi was like, this is why Jesus was exhausted. It was so hard for Jesus that sometimes he would go to a quiet place just to get away because no one knew who he was. No one used him properly, right? They use him only in the way that's comfortable for them. And then Sunsi says, this is why me too. I can't meet people frequently. It's tiring. Because even for Sunseam and leaders, they're only used in ways comfortable for themselves, right? Sunseam, we talk about leaders. Leaders are using Sunseam in ways that are only easy for the leaders, but not the full capability or understanding the value of Sunseam. And I think that's something that we really have to think about is, even when we hear the word, are we using the word for our comfort, thinking that, oh, this totally proves what I said, so now I'm going to do what I said and tell everyone that this is what I'm going to do because that's what the word said. But it's only about the things that are supporting what you want and what you want to do or what your thoughts are at, right? And I think it's something that we have to understand very carefully. We have to understand in such a way that we're like, oh, this is what we're looking for right now, right? So I would say this is something that we do have to think about very carefully. And are we using the things God gave us? Are we using the man of mission only for our own comfort and not for the betterment of our entire lives, which sometimes can hurt. It can hurt because sometimes we need to change more than we thought we needed to, right? The message also went into a very big part talking about, the time period that we're living in, right? The Old Testament, New Testament, complete Testament. And of course, the time we're living in right now is the fulfillment of the promise that Jesus came in spirit and now fulfilling the purpose of creation through the person sent, right? And we have to remember, one of the things that was a reminder is at the time the Holy Son was leaving on 3:16 with the raptured spirits after fulfilling the final will on the earth together with Jesus, he entrusted everything to the one who is sent as he left. And that verse is, I believe it is Matthew chapter 28, verse 18, I believe. I'm going to just look this up right now. Matthew 28, verse 18. And then Jesus said to them, All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me, right? So at the time, before Jesus left, Jesus gave the Great Commission, but he basically told the people that, hey, everything has been given to me, all power and authority, right? So even in the same way, too, remember, Jesus was ascended into heaven, which was the Holy Son. And Jesus, the actual Spirit of Jesus, actually went to paradise. Remember that, right? So we know that that was another instance of the Holy Son going back up into heaven, and all authority and power was given to Jesus for the New Testament time. And the exact same thing happened at this time on 3:16 also, which means if you think about that very carefully, the power and authority that the man of mission has right now, everything was entrusted to the one God sent at the day of the rapture. That should make us think very deeply of who we're actually living with right now in this time period. All power and authority has been given to him, right? And even like we just heard, like I just talked about, Jesus as promised came back in spirit and is working through the man of mission, right? But here's the thing that's very interesting is the message is like, even if God is fulfilling the promises, even if these are promises made to our ancestors thousands of years ago, if we don't live a proper life of faith, we won't even know, right? We won't even know if God acts on people, which means that, remember, it has to do with us living the proper life of faith. So when we're not living the proper life of faith, we don't know when God is acting on people or us. We don't know. It's only when we live the proper life of faith is when we're able to understand and say, I realize God is working through me. I realize God is working through this person. And the message also said, even though people wait with hope for the ideal world and the new time period God promised, the waiting will be endless for those that don't know. And it's true, because we've been here for over 46 years now. What does that mean? We've been here 46 years. Providence the complete testament has been going for 46 years. And even think about 46 years and people still haven't noticed. You think to yourself, is like, dude, it's been like a couple of weeks. Dude, it's been a couple of years. It's been 46 and people still don't notice. That's how sad it really is. Right now, all of us have met the new history. And one thing Sansim said was, for those who have received the new time period, guess what? It is an absolute miracle. We are people of the signs of history. That's how amazing we are at this time. And, even for us, remember when you first started learning the word? When you first learned the word, were you sitting there like going, oh my gosh, it's the words of the new time? No, we didn't even know it was the words of the new time period. And even when we realize this history, as we're growing in our first, second, third, fourth, fifth year, we're realizing more and more little by little. And finally, when 10 or 20 years passed, we become even more knowledgeable. We grow even more as we live. So I think that's something we really have to think about carefully. So even in the new time period, people will know only if they grow. Right? What does that mean? Well, in the beginning, it's only knowledge to us, right? We're like, oh my gosh, I know the words. But even though we know the words as knowledge, we don't really know or understand it. We only know correctly by putting it into practice. And this is why people will know only if they grow. It starts as knowledge and then it becomes true realization, understanding after we put it into practice, right? That's when we're actually going to really realize it deeply. Here we are the people of this generation. And we know it's the time period through by seeing what God does through the one sent. What do we see through the one that is sent? We can't think about just, oh, look at amazing warm. Like that, of course, that's one of the greatest signs. One of the greatest signs. But what is the greatest? The greatest is the preaching of the word. That's like the greatest sign, is the word being preached. Without the word, we cannot realize. Without the word, we cannot know. And that's one of the things I do think we have to realize that deeply, is the greatest sign is the sign of Jonah, right? Where is that? That's like in Matthew chapter 12, verse what? Matthew, see, I'm trying to get my mind back into the right place, right? Matthew 12:39. A wicked and adulterous generation asks for a sign, but none will be given it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. That's the ultimate one, the sign of the prophet Jonah. We are in the final history where God is treating us better than any other time. And there will be no other time that is greater than what we're in right now, how God treats us. Because we're the ones that fulfill the purpose of creation. We're the ones that fulfill exactly what God wanted, right? So that's something we really have to think about very carefully. This is a time right now where the Almighty, the creator of all things, the Almighty, omnipotent, omniscient God, he treats us like his counterpart of love, like his wife, like his actual bride. Like this, I like the 4 reasons why people don't know if God is taking action. So why don't people know God's taking action? Number 1 is they didn't learn correctly. Makes sense. Number 2 is they failed to take action with all their heart, will, and life, even if they learned. So which means they still learned, they just didn't do enough. That's why they can't see God working. It's almost like someone who does something totally half-assed, right? Like it's mediocre, not putting effort into it. You're not going to see miracles happen. You're not going to see God in action. Reason number 3, they fail to learn and know correctly about the person who is sent and fail to become one with him. And last is, even though they realized, they forgot. Those are the 4 reasons why people don't know when God is taking action. So I hope it's something that we can really think about ourselves and say, which one am I? Which one am I the one that realized and then forgot? Which one am I? Am I the one that doesn't really feel or see God because don't really take extreme actions? So you'll never really see it. You know, one of the things that the message was saying is one of the most recent messages, like one of the messages God is saying all the time through the message right now is, if you forget, you will die. And something's basically like, this is why I'm teaching you the basics again about the time periods. Don't forget that the time we're living in right now is the very time that prophets and martyrs and kings have waited for. The final fulfilling of the purpose created. That is the time we're living in right now. So don't just know it either. Don't just know it as theory. We have to know by taking action. And with the action, we begin to realize this tremendous truth. So I hope that all of us can take responsibility, not just for making ourselves, but we make ourselves by putting the words into action in a strong way. All right? So yeah, that was the Wednesday message. I hope it's something that you guys gained a lot from. A lot of things to think about too. It was a short message, but if there's anything you want to add or anything you want to talk more about, leave in the comments below. We'd love to hear about that too. All right? So there it is, guys. That is today's segment number 2, which is a Wednesday message word study. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave it below. And before we get into the final segment of Until the End with Daniel Baker, let's move into the final music break of the day.
Y'all ready for this?
You've given, you know I love you. I'm already singing, got the stories feel it in my heart. Everything's alright, cause you're not so far. Please take my hand and love me through a dance. Wanna show you my love, so give me a chance. We have stories of joy and pain, but that's okay, cause that's like dancing in the wind. And I will say it again, I'ma dance with you.
I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can move to the beat, our love so complete. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can groove to the beat, our love so complete. You've shown your loving, you gave me a chance. And with the mistakes I've made, I've never fallen away from you. Though times are rough, it'll be okay, cause I am never, ever, ever gonna leave you astray. Ay, thunderstorms are a little scary, but with you, I won't feel weary. Even on cloudy days when skies are gray, my heart's a cave, the sun will shine through the rain today.
Let us dance on the streets, let us rock to the beat. Show me how you feel about me, watch me move my feet. You're always on my mind, I can feel it in my heart. Everything's alright, cause you're not so far. Please take my hand and love me through a dance. Wanna show you my love, so give me a chance. We have stories of joy and pain, but that's okay, cause that's like dancing in the wind. And I will say it again, I'ma dance with you.
I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can move to the beat, our love so complete. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can groove to the beat, our love so complete. I'ma dance with you.
Okay, so let's get into today's final segment of the day and for the entire week. Of course, we have every Friday, last segment. This is Daniel Baker all the way in Korea with Until the End.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Do It Until the End podcast. I hope everyone is having an amazing week with the Trinity. Let's have an amazing wrapping up session together. So, recently, I just want to say, unfortunately, I've been very, very tired. Over the past couple weeks, I realized that I've had a massive case of fatigue. And this doesn't really help when your job is super physical and where you're walking 20, 30,000 steps a day in like the super hot day. But it's also like a really mental job where you have to do a lot of calculations and stuff. It's very bad to have this type of fatigue. And I realized over a period of time, my fatigue has gotten worse and worse. And over time, it's been a massive detriment to my work. And I was realizing, man, I'm getting very, very tired these days. And after I made this realization, I was doing a lot of research on this and why I'm getting so fatigued suddenly. Like, I thought I was doing really well. I was getting my life together. I'm making a lot of money. You know, what's the reason I'm having this type of fatigue? And after doing my research, I found out that I had something called sleep debt. Now, what is sleep debt? There's two ways to explain sleep debt. So sleep debt is a sleep deficit, which is a total effect of not getting enough sleep. And another way to explain it is the difference between how much sleep you need and how much you actually get. And it's kind of interesting because how much sleep you need is based on your previous sleep habits, right? And usually, because I work pretty early in the morning, I sleep around 9 p.m., 10 p.m. at latest, and I wake up at 5. This was the previous sleep habits I had in the past. And to realize if you have sleep debt, you have to check your sleep habits. And I realized that my original schedule was getting disrupted by a couple of bad habits I was doing before bed. And one of the biggest bad habits I had was after a while of doing my work and, I was getting a little bored. And before bed, I started watching a TV series and I was watching a couple shows. And the one that I watched and I really enjoyed was Better Call Saul, a lawyer/crime show. It's a lot of fun watching, but it was right after what my sleep schedule originally was. So, if I'll go to bed at 10 and then I'll watch that show from 10 to 10:45. And, that originally I was getting like 7 good hours of sleep now became 40 minutes less. It was 40-minute delay. And I was getting 40 minutes less sleep. And because of that, over 3 to 4 weeks, that 40-minute delay adds to a lot. Now that is sleep debt. And that's the sleep debt that I am trying to fix right now. And it's causing my fatigue. I'm very, very sleepy, even at the middle of the day. It's like 6 p.m. Feels like it's like 1, 2 for me. So I really got to really improve and make sure that my sleep debt or my sleep deficit does not get worse, but also I can improve it in the future. So my sleep debt was ultimately increased by my bad sleep habits and becoming my body, even though I didn't want it to be like this, has become more and more sluggish because of it. Now, how do we fix our sleep debt? We fix our sleep debt by prioritizing sleep within our daily life. When we prioritize sleep at a set schedule, for a set amount of time, we're able to catch up on our sleep debt. Now, setting a sleep schedule is a must, and that's like the basic to really improve your basic fatigue levels, basic energy levels. But also, one good thing that we need to do is we need to practice what the internet calls good sleep hygiene. Good sleep hygiene is maintaining good habits around sleep. This means avoiding caffeine, especially before bedtime. I know this is very difficult for Pastor Sky sometimes, but you got to avoid the caffeine, especially before bedtime. Limited things like alcohol. I know we don't have this issue, but, limiting things like alcohol because it could disrupt your sleep schedule. And avoiding large meals and excessive fluid before bed so you don't need to go to the restroom, in the middle of the night. Minimizing your use of electronic devices in the evening because, the blue lights really messes with your schedule. It makes you sleep later. It kind of tricks your brain to think it's daylight later than it actually is. And one of the biggest things that I've been trying to really improve on is establishing a technology-free zone in my bedroom, only using the bed for sleep. That itself will promote better sleep. Yeah, so I hope everyone that has this kind of sleep debt can really improve and really make sure that this doesn't control your life. This fatigue doesn't control your life. And yeah, I hope everyone has an amazing rest of the week with the Trinity. And to everyone who beats their fatigue and beats their bad habits, let's go until the end. Peace out, guys. Bye-bye.
And thank you so much, Daniel, for another wonderful episode of Until the End. I hope that all of us are learning about this sleep debt a little bit better and how we can deal with it even more. Very thankful for Daniel for all the work that he's doing on this podcast. Hope you guys are enjoying it just as much as I have. Everyone have an amazing and awesome weekend, a great Sunday service, and we'll see you again. We'll see you guys again on Monday on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
The Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.